Because those things are back to back, the cleaning is really for unleavened bread. Passover comes the first day, and then unleavened bread is a full week and starts after the Passover, but it's during the Feast of Unleavened Bread where all the leaven must be removed from your dwellings, which includes your cars, includes your houses, basically everything that you have authority over. If you live with somebody else, you can't go and tell those people that they need to take certain things out of their house. You know, if you got a room, you clean your room. You can't go through the house and start throwing out other people's stuff. That leaven is a representation of sin, which is what that is. Because what leaven causes something to do is to rise up. And all of the issues that we have against Yahweh, our Elohim, is of us being basically puffed up and wanting our own way. That's the bottom simplest explanation of what it is. Most of the times we know the difference between right and wrong. We just want to do certain things. We've gotten accustomed to doing certain things and we want to keep doing them. So the bottom line about it is it is that whole thing of being puffed up against Yahweh, our Elohim. And what Yahweh does is he gives us these physical things for us to go through, hoping that at some point we will start to see the spiritual connection. When you start thinking about taking all of this leaven out of your house ends up being a mess while you're actually cleaning. There's a difference between cleaning and straightening up. You can straighten up in 5 minutes. Cleaning ain't the same thing. We went through this growing up and none of us really understood it. Our parents used to call it spring cleaning. And I mean, they took down the drapes. They did all of these things. None of them really understood what it was really about. Coming to that Passover, it is that point where you remove all of this leaven out of your house. You have to do this thorough cleaning. You have to then go through all of these ingredients that are contained in your food. Now, of course, our forefathers didn't have to do all that because they knew what was already in it. They didn't have to go through and read the ingredients because they didn't have evil people over them sliding leaven in and giving it some other strange name. So part of our difficulty is not going to be in a righteous kingdom, because you're not going to have to, pull out a sheet to try to figure out, is this got leaven in it? Is this got, we'll automatically know what's got leaven in it. They put leaven in things that has no business having leaven in it. It is for their convenience of doing the things that they do. But this is a practice where you go in your cabinets, you pull all of this stuff out. This is the way that Yahweh deals with your life. And if you're not careful, you will look at your life in the wrong stage and say, man, my life is a mess. That's Yahweh trying to straighten you out. He bringing all that stuff out of the cabinet and he putting it on the counter. All of that stuff. Now your cabinet is a mess. It's stuff everywhere. But you can't do a thorough cleaning and leave everything in place. And that's what we want. We want a thorough cleaning of our life, but Yahweh leave everything the way that it is. No, this got to come out of here and it's got to sit there because I got to clean behind that. So you can't leave the refrigerator where it is and still clean behind the refrigerator. When you move that refrigerator, you're going to see some junk behind there that might be about 12 months old. That might be 12-month junk that you got behind that refrigerator. Now, if you don't ever move it, it look like it's okay. That's the same way your life going to be. That you keep leaving that little hidden stuff in there. And if you don't pull it out, put it on that table, let Yahweh deal with it, then he can put the cleansed portion back in the cabinet. You'll find out that you got some jars in your cabinet that's got all kind of gook sitting up under the bottom of it. And it didn't come from that jar. Where that gook came from? This is a pill bottle. Pills don't ooze. So where did this gook come from? It came from something else. But to get this clean, you got to get all that out, clean that, wipe off all of this, then put it back. Everything that Yahweh has taken from me, He is given back to me in some shape, form, or fashion at some period of time. But we're so busy worrying about something being lost at this particular time, we don't think about that you're going to get it now in unrighteousness. But you want to keep it in unrighteousness. It's not going to work. Brother, go ahead and let's read the oracles, that we may entreat the angel that stands at the door to come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may make this a holy convocation by the angel's presence.
1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions.
And these are the things that we have to be prepared for when it's time for this next Exodus, for the children of Israel to be set back in our land. Yahweh says, I have sent an angel to lead you in the way. Do not provoke him. The angel has the right, he has the power to speak in the name of Yahweh. This is where people think they're dealing directly with Yahweh, and you're dealing with the angel of Yahweh who speaks in the name of Yahweh. He says, my name is in him. So when it comes time for the children of Israel to be led out of here, that angel is not going to get a failing report because you got some stuff you want to leave in your cabinet. Go ahead.
Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right. When the holy days come near, those of us who have been in the Word for some time begin to notice an increase of hardships as the Passover approaches. Many of us have forgotten the enormous amount of turmoil that our ancestors endured during their first Passover. These hardships gave way to all the great things that we take part in to this very day. It is important that we do not forget the plagues that brought the Passover. Let's begin in Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1, and we're going to start reading that at verse 1. And today's sermon is the plague before the Passover. The plague before the Passover. When we start dealing with this word, we start noticing as we get closer and closer to the holy days, man, all types of stuff start happening. But we forget We'll go right to Exodus 12 and we'll read all of these things that Yahweh has given the children of Israel, all this, great instruction. The part that you're missing is they don't know if they about to get killed by these Egyptians in the meanwhile. They're going through the most turmoil that they have ever seen in their lives. Do understand that the Egyptians believed themselves to be man gods. Okay, they believed that they were gods in the form of men, and anything they wanted or decided to conquer, they believed that it was their right to do so. So they didn't allow anybody to question them on anything. And they were a very, very strong military might when you deal with who they were. And we used to watch these stories and everything, these movies, the Raiders of the Lost Ark and all of these things. What all of those things are about is possessing certain articles that come from the children of Israel. And that in turn would end up making that country the most powerful nation on the planet. And there's certain things that we've just not paid attention to. The fact that here it is, Egypt being this most powerful nation on the earth at this point. And they have the children of Israel in captivity. Now you look forward to this other Egypt. This place that claims to be a Christian country, yet they have a pyramid with the all-seeing eye of Horus on the back of their dollar, which is the most circulated denomination of currency in the world. The dollar is used to buy oil, which means that every country in the world has to deal with it. And they have a pyramid with an Egyptian god on it. That's not a symbol. That's a god. And here we are, and they are the most powerful country in the world. Exodus chapter 1, and let's start that in verse 1.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Yaakov. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Yaakov were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already.
Right. So we're talking about a nation of only 70 people. So all the other nations on the earth were already set. So when you read those things, when it says Yahweh didn't choose you because you were, the biggest nation among all the people, because you were the fewest. You were one family. This is the part that we miss when we start talking about all of this Israel regathering and Israel getting together. We forget that we were a family first, then grew into a nation. That's not the same with the other nations. So it's some things that we have to consider. And in verse 2, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Yehuda, Yehuda is where they get the term Jew from. All of us can't be Jews. You got to go ahead and get that through your head, that this whole system of what people have given us. And then, of course, we got this twisted tribal breakdown chart that people are passing around, which basically includes an enormous amount of people as Israel. Yet, they have not suffered one captivity. That's a problem. See? That's the same problem that we got with all these people that's sitting in the land claiming to be Israel, but they cannot provide a captivity. That goes against everything in this book. But then again, that's why they have to present another book, because they can't keep reading out of this one. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Right. This is why they constantly redraw the lines. This is why they constantly have things going on here to make sure that our numbers will not exceed theirs. See, this is the way it was done in the first Egypt, and this is the same way it's being done here in this Egypt. They carefully monitor your multiplying. to make sure that certain things don't happen, to make sure that you are deemed a minority. So if so many, because you have to consider, if all of us, if they just left us alone and we all lived in the same place and we all kept multiplying in the same place, you're going to obviously have representative mayors. You're going to, because you live amongst yourself. It's no way to avoid having a black mayor if everybody black. There's no way to avoid that. So how do you avoid it? Keep redistricting and opening up other areas and sending them out that area. So every time, and those little signs they put in the ground say town hall meeting that we just fly right past. Yeah, that'd be that meeting where they tell you where they're going to redistrict. Like your kid ain't going to go to this school no more. He going to go to that one. And y'all don't figure out like what that's about. That's where this line was. There was a whole bunch of y'all. Okay, so they drew the line this way, sent half of y'all this way, half of y'all that way. Now you ain't moved. Just the line that's supposed to divide this little city moved. So now you are now still a minority because they now moved you in an area where there's more other people than you. And you ain't went nowhere. You're still sitting in the same place you've been sitting. This game has been played on us for years. And why change it if it worked? Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 1 and verse 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falls out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
And people think that we are so sophisticated in this day and time that there's no way that America would do that. You might want to go and talk to those Asians and find out why they got all those nail shops in your neighborhood. Because they locked them people up and put them in concentration camps when they thought that those people might turn against them in the war. So if you think that that can't happen in this day and time, I don't think you're paying attention. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service, wherein they made them serve, was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Right, because the seed is reckoned by the male, not the female. So if you kill off the males, the women will be absorbed into the culture. See, we've been told that, hey, if you have 1 ounce of black blood, you black. That's not what thus says Yahweh, and that's not what thus says this book. So they didn't worry about killing. See, if they had to, if 1 ounce of black blood made you black, they would have had to kill off the black women too. But they didn't say kill the woman. Leave her alone. She can be an incubator for our babies. Go ahead.
Verse 17. But the midwives feared Elohim, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, why have you done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them.
Okay, this is a stone cold lie. All right, let's just go ahead and examine this for what it is. They lied, okay? They said, look, the Hebrew women, they deliver fast. So by the time we get in there, it's a baby already sitting in there. We didn't even have to deliver the baby. They deliver themselves. But now, you have to first understand something. Even Pharaoh being a little man god, he still got to talk to the women. For the women, those are the true deliverers of babies. This whole system where we got some man standing in between our wife's legs waiting for the baby to come out is absolute and utter wickedness. Women deliver babies. Ain't no man supposed to be standing in between your wife's leg waiting for a baby to come out of her canal. Read, man.
Verse 20. Therefore Elohim dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty.
Now, I need for y'all to understand something. They lied and they was blessed for the lie. Now, I need y'all to understand that on several levels, because see, some of y'all lying, and y'all lies don't nobody benefit from y'all lies except you, okay? So don't think, y'all ain't gonna bless me for this lie. No, he ain't. Your lie for you. This lie saved people's lives. Don't go there. Because I know people like to take that word and use it for their own. You see, this is why I told the lie right here. You see, Exodus 1, and he dealt real good with them. You see that? Yeah, that's why I said I went to the store, but I went to James's house. Right, that's a lie. And that lie ain't going to help you. So we need to understand some things here. Because we know that the word says we shall not bear false witness. Yet, they lied, and he gave them an increase because their lie protected the children of Israel. But be careful, lest you use things and put that example in the wrong place and get yourself tore up. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he made them houses.
Boy, they got lie houses. Check that out. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive.
So because he couldn't get them women to do it, now he's ordering that to everybody else. Which is the same thing that's, what do you think is being said when the news puts and shows everything that you do as a crime, and it's put on the news every day, and every time they take a picture of us, they zoom in this close to the face. That is to make sure that you look like a threat to this country. Understand, man, this brother done went and talked in prison. And there's white people everywhere in prison. We don't see them getting locked up on TV, though. How they get to jail? They must just appear there. And they just show up in jail. How come that stuff don't be on TV? But don't think it ain't white people in prison. You got enough thing coming if you think it ain't white people in prison. They somehow get locked up without any camera footage whatsoever. We see the ones that they just cannot deny for television. I mean, a dude come and kill 9 people at a Bible study, 12, 13 people. You can't not put that on TV. A dude decide to eat somebody's face. They got to put that on TV. But the regular meth-smoking cat who done broke into 15 cars and stole radio, that don't seem to make it to the news. But what it does is it programs the mindset of people that these people, we need to get rid of these people. We need to get rid of these people. This is what's being seen over and over and over. Before there were race riots, they had the Creative Loafing did a story on a 100-year anniversary of the Atlanta race riots. Atlanta Journal-Constitution wouldn't cover it because Atlanta Journal-Constitution was part of how the race riots started. What they did was put together inflammatory articles, black brute rapes white woman. It infuriated the people. And then the race riots started, and where did they start? On Auburn Avenue and in the black area where all the black-owned businesses were. Now, the people that they went and killed, these were not like, you know, some thug people. They went and burned down businesses. So understand, they looked at these stories, and what they attacked were prominent black business owners. You see the automatic connection? Not to go get the thugs, go get the people who are able to sustain themselves in business. And the first thing we think is when we get some money and we move out of the hood, we not like them. See, that's those niggas over there. We not like those niggas. No, Do understand? When they get mad at those niggas, they coming for these niggas. Don't get it twisted. They don't get no gain out of getting those niggas. They ain't got nothing in their way. Go ahead, man.
Exodus chapter 2 and verse 1. And there went a man out of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off, to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it.
Now, this is a very difficult decision that this woman has to make. If she keeps this child, the child gonna die. She has to let the child go in order for an opportunity that it might be able to live. But if she keep it, it's gonna die. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and, behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I'll give you your wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it.
So now, because she let the baby go, now she get paid to nurse it. Go ahead.
And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe. And she said, Because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days, when Moshe was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smiteth you your fellow? And he said, Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Intend you to kill me, as you killed the Egyptian? And Moshe feared, and said, Surely this thing is known.
Right. No matter how dark you let it get, somebody can see what is going on. And he swear when he killed that Egyptian, did nobody see him kill that Egyptian. And somebody was able to see that he had killed that Egyptian. And Yahweh will allow things to happen to force your hand. Because there's a whole lot of things we'd like to believe that we're going to do on our own. But the truth of the matter is, you ain't going to do nothing. You're going to keep talking about the changes that you should, would, and might possibly make. When Yahweh throws some things in the gear, you ain't got no choice but to make some of those decisions. And this is one of those things. He is raised up in one culture, being an Egyptian, but understanding that they are completely ruling over his people. So he has these two things going on in his brain at the same time. He gets all the perks of an Egyptian, but then he gets all the heartbreak of a Hebrew watching his people get treated like this. So this man has a whole lot of turmoil going on inside in his mind, having to watch this day after day. And he shows you exactly what Israel gonna do to you too. As soon as he it was known, he said, who made you a prince and a judge over us? Now this came out of Israel's mouth, but this was prophetic, because that's what he ended up being, a prince and a judge over Israel. So sometimes when people say something nasty to you, they might be prophesying to you and you don't even know it. Oh, you think you all this and that. You look back 10 years, you know what, I am all this and that. I didn't even know that. Thank you, sweetie. I didn't know. Go ahead, bro.
Exodus chapter 2 and verse 15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well.
So now Yahweh has made him a fugitive. Go ahead.
Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moshe stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Ruel, their father, he said, How is it that you're come so soon today?
Now, when you deal with this, and the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moshe stood up and helped them, it was automatically in him to help oppressed people. And most people, when they grow up with privilege, They don't think about the people of whom they are taking the privilege from. Once they got the privilege, they don't think about, these are the people that have to keep working so that we can have privilege. It was automatically, this quarrel inside him has automatically made him that way. That he automatically wants to stand up for these people that he ain't never met. He don't even know these women. Go ahead.
Verse 19. And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flocks.
Now, he did all of this, and they still think he's an Egyptian because he still looks like an Egyptian. He still has the clothing of the Egyptian. So they believe that he's an Egyptian. Go ahead.
And he said unto his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread.
Right, and when you look at this name real well, you understand that later on when you read, it says that it was his father's name was Jethro. Jethro means his excellence. Ruel means friend of El. So this is obviously what the children of Israel ended up calling him, the friend of El, friend of Elohim. Go ahead.
And Moshe was content to dwell with the man. And he gave Moshe Zipporah his daughter, and she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom.
So understand, you then have even the beginning of this, where how Moshe came to be a man of Levi, took a daughter of Levi, and here comes Moshe. Then, even after being a fugitive and having to leave the land, he still gets the daughter of a priest. See, priests ain't supposed to marry an old body. Because, see, you married the wrong one, what they do is just lead you in trouble. See, that there's a kind of woman, when you think about, I think it was the first woman that Dawid married, Abigail. She talked him out of his wrath, not feeding his wrath. See, it's a difference when you have a woman that's saying, baby, don't do that. And if I was you, I'll bust on them foes. Bust on them, Bo. Bo, get your gat. You got your gat with you? Bust on them foes. Now you in prison, and now she dating Pookie down the street. So Yahweh said a priest got to have a certain type of woman. You can't be marrying anybody. You can't marry bust on them fools. You can't marry that. Because, see, you're going to be in some situations. And if you married the bust on them fools, you going chances are high, you're going to have some serious problems. Go ahead.
For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died. And the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto Elohim by reason of the bondage. And Elohim heard their groaning. And Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Esaac, and with Jacob.
Right. He had a covenant with Abraham, with Esaac, and Jacob, and he never revealed to him his name. You see Yahweh in here now because Moshe is writing this from a point of understanding. But at the point that they went through this, all they knew was El or El Shaddai. That's why all the names end in El. And then after Moshe, names start ending in Yah. So then you have names of El and Yah after Moshe. But before Moshe, all the names end in El. That's all they knew. But that's why we were given the name Israel. See, this part, this is all Yahweh wanted you to know was El. And he made covenants with them with the name of El. And we are still partakers of covenants that were made with people who didn't even know Yahweh's name. And I tell people that for a reason. Don't go out and think that everybody who don't know Yahweh's name, that Yahweh not dealing with them. That's an incorrect assumption. Yahshua said, I have other foes. I have other sheep that are not of this fold. How is that possible, bro? We've been looking at you. You ain't went nowhere else. Where you get some other foes from? Bro, you don't know everything I deal with. I taught you everything you know. I didn't teach you everything I know. That's something different. So don't think you know everything that Yahweh dealing with. Go ahead.
Verse 25. And Elohim looked upon the children of Israel, and Elohim had respect unto them. Now Moshe kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of Elohim, even to Horeb.
Now, I know y'all, some of y'all done seen the little movies where they do this, and of course everybody in the movie white. The Egyptians white, the Israelites white, everybody white. These things help reinforce the mindset that you were better off after being enslaved here. Like nothing ever happened positive for you because you can't find yourself in this book. It is imperative that you understand and be able to find yourself in this book so that you understand that slavery wasn't some favor that somebody did for you. Slavery was us deciding not to be a servant unto Yahweh, which is what's written in this book. If you don't serve me, then I'm going to make you serve your enemy in your enemy's land. That's what slavery is. And because we couldn't explain it to our kids, a lot of people won't talk about it. So it wasn't necessarily any group of people's fault. It was mostly our fault. Yahweh took away our power, and it's Yahweh that's going to give it back. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 3 and verse 2. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burnt with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, I'll now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not near hither. Put off your shoes from off your feet, for the place whereon you stand is holy ground.
Right. He says, verse 4, and when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see. So then he's coming close to the place where the angel of Yahweh is. We pray and invite the angel of Yahweh to come in to sanctify our holy convocation. When you invite the angel, it says, take off your shoes. The place on where you stand is holy ground. This is why we remove our shoes before we come into the sanctuary. You don't walk, and if you're not accustomed to certain things, you used to your culture. See, most black folk will tell you to take your shoes off because they got white carpet. You know what I'm saying? They don't mean that. They don't really, they don't have any spiritual connection. But you find out spiritually, your shoes have walked over everything. Dead bodies, walked over graves, walked over all of these things. Then you turn around and go into somebody's home. When you go into other people's home of other culture, they got shoe racks at the door. There are things where even when workers are working, man, we put shoe covers over our shoes because there are certain people that is their culture. It is not about some other thing. You just don't wear shoes in the house like that. And it ain't about, you getting something on their carpet. It is a much deeper thing than that. And when you find out one of these things that we're taking a part of in this Passover is we go through the part of foot washing. We ain't washing your feet because they dirty. Yeshua said, do you understand what I've done to you? This, you as an example, you ought to do to one another to help cleanse one another from the spiritual things that you may have encountered before in that year. So that you are constantly taking a part and helping cleanse one another. Before all of the within the holy vessels that were in the sanctuary, they had a place where they had to wash their hands and feet before they went into the holiest place to go and do those things. It's not about their feet being dirty. It's about spiritual cleansing. There's a little bit more going on here than what we've been told about. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 3 and verse 6. Moreover, he said, I am the El of your father, the El of Abraham, the El of Esaac, and the El of Yaakov. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by the reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land unto a good land, and unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites.
Right. And when we get to talking some of these people on the internet. They try to, and if you're not equipped, they're going to, run that little game on you and tell you that, darker skinned people were in the southern part of Africa and there were no dark skinned people in the northern part of Africa. But when you deal with what Israel is, it's called Canaan land. Canaan is a descendant of Ham, which means burnt black. So he took out one black people and put in another black people. This is something that the nations don't want you to know. The preachers don't want you to know. Why? Because they get all of their pomp, circumstance, and power from the white seminary school that they attended. So they give them a degree, they give them a piece of paper, and they also give them some instructions. Don't teach in this name. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. You can't just go out and say you're a Baptist without dealing with the Baptist convention. Well, they got a certain amount of things that you can't teach. So there's a reason why we're able to teach the things that we teach. Because ain't no silent partner coming in here. Well, wait a minute, Esaac. Hey, brother, hey. You can read verse 16, but don't read verse 17. What? No, we read the whole chapter, Jack. That's what we gonna do. So ain't no silent partners to come and tell us. And that's the things that people don't know because they've never seen that are really dealt with the fact that black churches are owned by white people. You go in this black church and all you see is black people. You don't ever see the white guy. And he the one who paid the head minister. And we're talking about churches where the minister is making millions of dollars a year. It's a white man signing that check. And he's the one that dictates what gets taught. Just like it was before. During slavery time, there was an overseer. One white man sat in the church to direct. Hey, don't teach from that. The pastor can get all the shouting he want to get. Hey, don't go into that. We want y'all to learn how to be good slave and good this and good that. That's it. Don't go into that now. And to this day, the same thing is going on. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptian oppressed them. Come now therefore, and I'll send you unto Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And Moshe said unto Elohim, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, Certainly, I'll be with you, and this shall be a token unto you, that I have sent you. When you have brought forth the people out of Egypt, you shall serve Elohim upon this mountain. And Moshe said unto Elohim, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel and say unto them, The Elohim of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them?
This is a clear-cut question. Yet, you have people today telling you, oh, he has many names. Why didn't he answer him with many names? When he said, look, I'm going to go to these people, and I'm supposed to be delivering these people. What? Who I'm going to tell them sent me? Why we don't see that little poster that everybody have in their house? Why you don't say, you shall say God, counselor, friend, doctor, lawyer? Why we don't see that? Because he don't say none of that. It is very, very pinpoint and accurate what he says. Go ahead.
And Elohim said unto Moshe, Yahweh. And he said, Thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, Yah hath sent me unto you.
Now, verse 14, and Elohim says that, and Elohim said unto Moshe, I am that I am. And he said, so now you have the whole thing, which is Yahweh, I am that I am, but then he breaks it down. Thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, I am, Yah have sent you. So Yah is his name. The part of that I am, the Yah, the way in the end, is a statement of his power. Just like we look at Alexander the Great, we know the great ain't part of his name. His name is Alexander. Yah is his name. Yahweh is a statement of his power. Just like somebody would say Alexander the Great, they are saying his name, and then they're saying what power this individual has. So when we read in Psalm 68, We read he is extolled, which is called upon, which is you sing praises unto his name Yah. You notice it didn't say Yahweh. But a person is not wrong by saying Yahweh. But do understand that what you're dealing with is Yah. This is why in Revelation 19 you go back and then you hear the saints saying hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah over and over and over again, which is praise you Yah. So in a lot of things where people use different terminology, I don't spend time arguing over the terminology. If you deal with Yah, I back up and let the rest go. But when it comes down to getting that baptism must be done in the name of Yahshua, and you still hear the term Yah inside that. Yahweh is methodical in the things that he does. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And Elohim said moreover unto Moshe, thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, the El of Abraham, the El of Esaac, and the El of Yaakov, has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
This is my name forever. Yet when we find out what those people kept giving us, counselor, doctor, those are all titles. Those are not names. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, and a counselor. That still ain't your name. I can go to a school and holler out teacher and 50 people turn around because there's 50 teachers in there. But when I say Miss Johnson, ain't but one person turn around. Because all of them, ain't named Miss Johnson. All of them teachers though. See? So this is the trick of the devil, to give us all these titles and tell us, well, it really doesn't matter. This is why the adversary want to tell us, well, you should say Hashem, which is the name. Because his name is too holy to say. Well, I got a problem with that. If his name is too holy to say, how we have a book full of people who has his name in it? Why we got Zechariah, Hananiah, all these names ending in Yah? How we have all these names that has Yah in it, but Yah is too holy to say? No, them people don't want you to say the name. Because you keep calling on the right entity and something might happen for you. See? So you got to understand something. If I can trick the people to walk away from their power, then hey, I've won the fight without even swinging at all. So they get you praying in the wrong name. They get you praying. If you say God, we read in this book, it said there are gods many. Lucifer's a god. What did he say? If you bow down and worship me, and this was something he told Yahshua. You bow down and worship me, and I'll give you everything. All you see, it is given unto me, and I give it to whom I will. And it's hard to tell somebody when they got some money, boy, that Lucifer gave it to them. It's hard to tell them, boy, God has blessed me. You see all this stuff I got in there? You see it put as a Persian rug. You see that? Put your hand on it. Touch it. Touch it. It ain't gonna bite you. Go ahead. Tell them that didn't come from God. Boy, stop. Boy, stop. But Lucifer said up front, I'll give you whatever it is. Just worship me. And the first thing that we were given, praise and worship. Sometimes we went to church and that's all they did was praise and worship. They ain't read nothing. They ain't learn nothing. All they did was sing and dance and holler. That's what Lucifer liked. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 3 and verse 16. Go and gather the elders of Israel together, and say unto them, Yahweh, El of your fathers, the El of Abraham, of Esaac, and of Yaakov, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely visited you, and seen that which is done to you in Egypt. And I have said, I'll bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall hearken to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, unto the king of Egypt. And you shall say unto him, Yahweh, El of the Hebrews, has met with us. And now let us go, we beseech you, 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Yahweh our Elohim.
Now, the angel of Yahweh is it's very interesting here. Yahweh give you the end result. And he says in verse 18, and they shall hearken to your voice. Well, not right away. You gonna go through pure D hell before they hearken unto your voice. But see, Yahweh has a tendency to leave certain parts out because you would kind of flip out if you knew your whole, story right away. And we so nosy that we think we need to know. I need to know if this way I'm supposed to be. Yeah, for right now, that's where you're supposed to be. What if Yahweh told you, yeah, you're going to live in this house for 10 years, but then this house right here going to catch on fire, and then you're going to get this other house. Every day you come in there, you smell smoke. You smell smoke. Hey, bro, you smell smoke. For 10 years, you walk around there paranoid as all get out. You can't even sit down and watch a movie in the house. I swear I smell smoke. I swear I smell it. I swear I do. Bruh, ain't nothing burning, bruh. Ain't nothing burning but your brain. Your brain's on fire. Stop. That's why certain things he can't tell you. You got to deal with, you on a need-to-know basis with Yahweh. When it's time for you to know, he gonna let you know. Go ahead.
Verse 19. And I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go. No, not by a mighty hand. And I'll stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with all my wonders, which I will do in the midst thereof. And after that, he will let you go.
And after that, he will let you go. All right? And the children of Israel wasn't so forthcoming in accepting Moshe. Go ahead.
And I'll give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and it shall come to pass that when you go, you shall not go empty. But every woman shall borrow of her neighbor, and of her that sojourneth in her house, jewels of silver, and jewels of gold, and raiment. And you shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and you shall spoil the Egyptians.
Right. So for all these people who are looking for reparations, your reparations is on your way out. Your reparations ain't while you still in captivity. Because all we do is turn around and get the money right back. We wouldn't open not one business. Every last one of us have a gold Cadillac. Gold diamonds everywhere. Still don't own not damn place in the whole neighborhood. Still have to go to our enemy to go get a box of chicken. But we all riding around in gold spaceships. It wouldn't do us a bit of good to get any reparations here whatsoever. And we keep asking for it. We need reparations. What? So we can make them rich again? We know our own selves. The younger you are when you have money, the dumber stuff you do with it. I have blown money that I wish I could have back right now. Oh my God. Boy, when you young, you think that money ain't never gonna stop coming. Don't let you get by 20,000 at one time. You think, you know what? Tomorrow another 20,000 gonna come. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not how that works, boo-boo. But boy, I've had money, boy, and the money just, I saw smoke coming out my pocket. It was just burning inside. I had to hurry up and spend it. Boy, you miss that when you get old and you start thinking about the stuff you done. Man, if we get some money now, not being taught about economics, not having the understanding of what those things are truly mean, we're going to burn it all up and give it all back. Yahweh said, okay, on your way out, and some of y'all are real good with this. This is the kind of borrower. It said borrower of the Egyptians. But you're not never going to see them no more. And this is how some of y'all borrow right now to this day. Some of y'all got my stuff right now. I ain't going to say nothing about some of y'all. Some of y'all got my stuff right now. Y'all borrow. No good way y'all ain't going to get it back. It's bad when you got to borrow your own. Hey, bro, can I borrow my lawnmower that I let you, bro? Can I borrow the stuff that I let you borrow? This is how you going to deal with this other Egyptian. Because the whole thing is, the substance is supposed to really help you and your people. And it can't help you if you turn around. We spend, the amount of money that black people spend is like a whole country. People are getting enormously rich off of the commerce that we bring. The problem is it's not helping us. But that's not all due to our, at our fault. Because we've set up things, and when we get too far, those things have a tendency of getting burnt down. Black Wall Street was absolutely impeccable, awesomely devised, awesomely set up. It was feeding our people. It was creating wealth. It burned to the ground. Then they turn around and pass the law and say you can't build on burnt property. So not only did the law help the evildoers, the law helped make sure that we couldn't start it again. So as they got bombs, barrel bombs dropped from planes on them, the insurance wouldn't pay out. Same thing we have now. Something happened on one part of town, insurance come through there and pay for all that stuff. Something happened outside of town, insurance act like they don't understand what happened. So how exactly did this tree fall? Well, no, we need to come out and examine the tree. Man, you see the picture. The tree fell over and it hit the house. Now they got to tell me, well, see, it was something you didn't do right with your ground. So that's why your tree fell. Wait a minute, brother, you didn't go through all that when the tree fell on the other side of town. You just paid their claim. So it's a history of those things happening unto us. But do understand what is written. You shall be punished 7 times more for your sins. So before you look at everybody else and say, it is because of this. No. You need to go back to this book and look at what it says. You're going to be punished 7 times more. So stop looking at dumb people and saying, well, because of they. No. Yahweh took the veil of protection off of us and allowed certain things to happen. But the same one that let them do it is the one that's going to deal with them for doing it. That ain't your job. Go ahead, bro.
That was the end of that.
That was the end of that. Let's go to Exodus chapter 5.
Exodus chapter 5 and verse 1. And afterward Moshe and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus said Yahweh El of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness.
Right. So understand, the whole connection of Israel getting free of captivity is connected to the feast days. Yet, we have had slick people come and tell us that we don't need to take part in these feasts. This is directly connected to your freedom. Do you understand that the people who don't want you to take part in this are the people who want you to stay captive? The only people that's happy about your oppression is your oppressor. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said, who is Yahweh, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not Yahweh, neither will I let Israel go.
And at least he was honest. I don't know no Yahweh. Go ahead.
And they said, the El of the Hebrews has met with us. Let us go, we pray you, 3 days' journey into the desert and sacrifice unto Yahweh our El, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. And the king of Egypt said unto them, wherefore do you, Moshe and Aaron, let the people from their works get you onto your burdens? And Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land now are many, and you make them rest from their burdens. And Pharaoh commanded the same day the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, you shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as hithertofore. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. And the tale of the bricks, which they did make hithertofore, you shall lay upon them. You shall not diminish aught thereof, for they be idle. Therefore they cry, saying, let us go and sacrifice to our Elohim.
Right. So the thing is, we make them busier and they won't be able to do all these other things. And that's the same thing that we deal with now. You got people that work so much, they can't be talking about, you see folks marching in the street for this and marching in the street for that. You see, man, it used to be this thing that my mama said, look here, whatever it is you want, you need to tell me before I sit down. So if I wanted something, I had to call my mom. Hey, look, I need such and such for school tomorrow. I got to call her before she leave work. Let her know what it is I need. Because once she come in that door, and once she sit down, man, it don't work her to the bone. Once she sit down, whatever that is, unless you need something that's going to keep me from catching on fire, you ain't getting that, Jack. You're not getting that. She done sat down. The day is over. The day is over once she come in her house and sit down. That's it. She's not getting up out of that seat until she got to go back and put that yoke and ball and chain on the next day. So you work them whole lot of things they're not going to be able to do. They're not going to be worrying about these other issues. They're not going to be able to do all these other things. This same thing is used against us to this day. You don't find us jumping up for every cause. Folks got worked so hard, they ain't using their off day to go march. Like, man, hey, bro, I've been working too many days. I'm not finna march. It's got to be really bad for us to get out and go and do those things. That's by design. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Let the more work be laid upon the men, that they may labor therein, and let them not regard vain words. And the taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they spake to the people, saying, Thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go you, get you straw where you can find it. Yet not all of your work shall be diminished.
Right. You still got to go get the supplies yourself, but then you still have to make the same amount of bricks. Go ahead.
So the people were scattered abroad throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble instead of straw. And the taskmaster hasted them, saying, Fulfill your works, your daily task, as when there was straw.
Right. What they did during this transatlantic slave trade, they worked the people to the bone, made them fulfill the best to their ability. Then turn around and said, now this is what you got to do every day. Now imagine you having to do your best day ever, every day. Every day you got to have your best day. Some folk, I see them in the morning, and I know, boy, they're going to have a bad day today, because that day didn't even start out right. But you still got to go to work and have the best day ever. Every day. Or you get beat. Go ahead.
And the officers of the children of Israel, which Pharaoh's taskmaster had set over them, were beaten and demanded, Wherefore have you not fulfilled your task in making brick both yesterday and today, as hithertofore? Then the officers of the children of Israel came and cried unto Pharaoh, saying, Wherefore dealeth you thus with your servants? There is no straw given unto your servants, and they say to us, Make brick. And behold, your servants are beaten, but the fault is in your own people. But he said, You're idle, you're idle. Therefore you say, Let us go and do sacrifice to Yahweh.
Right. You got too much time on your hand. That's why you talking about this God stuff. See? I need to take some of that extra time you got, and then maybe you'll stop talking about serving your God. I'm gonna convince you to let this foolish desire you got go by working you to death. Go ahead.
Go therefore now and work, for there shall no straw be given you, yet shall you deliver the tale of bricks. And the officers of the children of Israel did see that they were in evil case. After it was said, You shall not minish aught from your works, from your bricks of your daily task.
Let me tell you something. This is the same thing that happens in corporate America. They said, you're idle, because you're asking all these other things. If you were working, you wouldn't be able to ask all these other things. You find out when you get in corporate America, if you look too happy, they automatically believe that they ain't working you hard enough. See, I learned when I worked for other people, I had that stupid look on my face. They be like, yeah, we don't work that sucker now. Because if you run around like this, they be like, we ain't gave him enough work. This brother's still laughing and joking. So I figured out my problem was I smile too much. So I look around, I go, wait a minute. Why I got 3 pallets of work and this dude got 1? Because you keep smiling, fool. Oh. So I figured out corporate America's game then. I watch them dudes. Whenever the managers come over, they acting like, I can barely pick this up. Oh, you don't work me hard, man. Then they go, yeah, bro, I just had to do that until he left. Oh, that's why I'm getting work to the bone. Because they come around see me smiling. I said, oh, I learned the game then. I said, okay, I see what this game is. I see what this game is. So they need to see that they don't work you to a certain level. That same mindset that was there in slavery. You work them to the best of their ability, and if you have not done so, then they believe they have failed. So some of that laughing and all that stuff, then y'all don't understand why y'all having a problem on the job. You can't laugh and smile in front of everybody. There's certain situations that you just need, that they don't even need to be able to figure you out. They come talk to you. What's wrong with you, man? You gonna find yourself getting more work than everybody else? You better pay attention. See, you gotta learn to understand how corporate America works. It don't work within any kind of righteousness. See, don't think and take your concept of what's in this book and think that it's gonna apply at that job. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 5 and verse 20. And they met Moshe and Aaron, who stood in the way, as they came forth from Pharaoh. And they said unto them, Yahweh look upon you and judge, because you've made our Savior to be abhorred in the eyes of Pharaoh, and the eyes of his servants, to put a sword in their hand to slay us.
Right. So now Israel is upset. This is one of the heaviest things that you can say. Yahweh judge between me and you. So they're upset with this man, because now more work is being given to them. Go ahead.
And Moshe returned unto Yahweh and said, Adonai, wherefore have you so evil entreated this people? Why is it that you have sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, neither have you delivered your people at all. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Now shall you see what I will do to Pharaoh. For with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And Elohim spake unto Moshe, and said unto him, I am Yahweh.
So understand, it says, with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. So he's going to make the situation between the children of Israel and the Egyptians so difficult that they're going to want to throw the children out. So you have all these people that say, hey man, I'm ready to go to Israel. Just hold what you got. Because as things keep going, these people going to be ready to throw you out of here. You ain't got to go nowhere. Just wait. Just wait. What do you think? Why are we seeing all the news stories? And look at just how the racial climate has stepped up a level once they got a who they believe is okay with their antics. All of a sudden, all kind of things have stepped up. They didn't just develop these things. They feel more comfortable saying them in public. You understand? They didn't just develop these thought processes. These thought processes were already there. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Esaac, and unto Jacob by the name of El Shaddai. But by my name Yahweh was I not known to them.
I was not known to them by Yahweh, yet I still made covenants with them, and you are partakers of a covenant that was made with people who didn't even know his name. Go ahead.
And I have also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I Yahweh, say I am Yahweh, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I'll take you to me for a people, and I'll be to you a Elohim, and you shall know that I am Yahweh your El, which brings you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I'll bring you in unto the land, concerning the which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Esaac, and to Jacob, and I'll give it to you for an heritage. I am Yahweh. And Moshe spake so unto the children of Israel, but they hearkened not unto Moshe for anguish of spirit, and for cruel bondage. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Go in, speak unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, that he let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Moshe spake before Yahweh, saying, Behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am uncircumcised, who am of uncircumcised lips? And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and unto Aaron, and gave them a charge unto the children of Israel and unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
All right, let's go to chapter 7, Exodus chapter 7, and let's start that at verse 1. So as they normally say, things oftentimes get worse before they have the opportunity to get better. And this is something that we have to keep in our minds and understand. Because first, Yahweh has to get everybody's attention. And we have become a very diversified group of individuals. Our people were more together during the slavery time. They depended on one another more. We took care of one another more. And just in my generation and growing up, my old neighborhood, which was, very meager in means, we were a whole hell of a lot closer than we are now. And we've moved up in so-called class and income. We don't even know our neighbors. I've been in that same house 20 years. You don't even know the people next door. When I grew up, you knew everybody in the block. Everybody. Your mama would send you down to 4 houses down here, boy, take that flower down there to Rosemary. You get in trouble down the street. You'll get in trouble 2 streets over. And your mama know when you get home. Why you out there acting like you ain't got no sense? How you know? Is this some kind of unseen mama network? How do you know that I was just acting a plumb idiot 2 streets over? Boy, they know by the time you get home. And depending on who the lady was, she might have gave you a whooping, sent you home, and your mama gave you a whooping. Like, man, I'm getting 2 whoopings. We learned to look around, boy, before we did some dirt. For real. Because we knew all of these people know one another. But everybody took care of one another within the same, in the same thought process. It's not like that now. We're supposed to be more educated. We got more money than what we had before. But we are less connected as a people. I actually knew when my mama said, go take this down to Rosemary house. I actually knew who that was. Now, old people and young people don't know one another. The young people don't know the old people. They might just know the other young people in that neighborhood. That's it. My grandmama had me cutting folk grass. I mean, boy, she would just loan me out. Boy, I go down there and cut, I need you to go cut a roof grass. Why I got to cut a roof grass? I go over Miss Gresham's house. Boy, she got little boiled eggs and stuff waiting for me. I say, so y'all discussed all this previously, huh? So you exactly knew the time that I was going to come over here to cut this grass. So they had already decided, that was my pay. I get boiled egg. Man, this is a mess right here. But that's how they took. But see, being young, I didn't understand. There ain't nobody else in Miss Gresham's house. All her people done died off. This an old lady at the house by herself. So what is it to send your grandboy up there to go and cut some grass? Man, this little old bitty yard. Man, it wasn't nothing for me to do. I didn't understand that when I was little. The older I got, the more I understood, she ain't got nobody else here. So the rest of the neighbors took turn. So I realized that when I wasn't doing it, some other little boy was doing it. Wait a minute. So everybody in the neighborhood is taking turns taking care of this old lady. Interesting. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 7 and verse 1. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, see, I have made you a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I'll harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt.
Right. Once you've done something for so long, then your punishment is Yahweh won't let you go out of it. Now, he uses your situation to make an example out of you. We're talking about Pharaoh supposed to be a so-called man god. So when Yahweh brings him down, all of the nations are going to hear about the fame of the children of Israel. Go ahead.
But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies, and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments.
Right. So I'm not going to allow him to repent fast. Because see, he has ruled over you for quite some time. Because see, some people just repent out of, stop the whipping. And y'all know when we get a whipping, we agree with everything. Mama, I swear I ain't never going to do it no more. I ain't never going to, just stop this whooping now. If you stop the whooping now, Mama, I promise, I ain't never going to do this again. Yeah, that's just what you saying so I can put this switch down. You going to be doing it again as soon as I stop whooping you. Because many of y'all said the same thing. The first time you had a hangover, oh my God, this feels awful. I ain't never going to get drunk again. The next Thursday, we back at it. But you just promised you wasn't never going to get drunk again. Right. Soon as the feeling passed, we right back at it. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh, when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moshe and Aaron did as Yahweh commanded them, so did they. And Moshe was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old, when they spake unto Pharaoh.
Right. So Yahweh spent 40 years training this man. He left out as a fugitive, then had to go through all of these things, and then return back to the place wherein he was a fugitive to then go and free these people. Imagine Yahweh tell you to go free somebody and you can get locked up yourself. Yeah, well, who gonna free me if they lock me up? You do know I killed somebody back there, right? Now how I'm gonna free them from the pen, okay? Yahweh might ask you to do some difficult stuff. But at the same time, he know he's gonna kill a whole bunch of Egyptians anyway. Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and unto Aaron, saying, When Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, Show a miracle for you, then you shall say unto Aaron, Take your rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. And Moshe and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh, and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers. Now the magicians of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said.
Right. So when we teach certain things, the same thing happened here. We teach that other people of other congregations will watch the things that we teach, take bits and pieces of it, and teach it to their congregation. So that when you go to those people, I know about that. Now, they only taught them this much of it. But they taught them enough of it so that when you go to them and start talking, they will already say, oh, I know that. Keep talking. Because sooner or later, you're going to go outside of that 2 minutes that they explained it. And then they're going to be like, whoa, wait. Now, I hadn't heard that part. Right. So they're doing the same thing to make it look like. So he got a rod. It turned into a serpent. Then they did a little trick, made their little stick disappear, and had a serpent to make it look like it's the same thing. We have that same encounter, but we don't know that that's what's going on. So people are examining the things that we teach. Our things are on the internet openly. We don't ask anybody to join any group. We don't ask anybody to sign up. I ain't looking around to see who log in. Yahweh know if you heard this word, and he knows you are accountable for those things that you have heard. I ain't walking around with no notepad trying to figure that out. That's not my job. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 7 and verse 14. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He refused to let the people go. Get you unto Pharaoh in the morning. Lo, he goes out onto the water. And you shall stand by the river's brink against he come. And the rod which was turned to a serpent shall you take in your hand. And you shall say unto him, Yahweh El of the Hebrews has sent me unto you, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto you would not hear. Thus said Yahweh, In this you shall know that I am Yahweh. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that is in the rivers shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Moshe, say unto Aaron, take your rod, and stretch out your hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, upon their rivers, and upon their ponds, and upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood, and vessels of stone. And Moshe and Aaron did so, as Yahweh commanded. And he lifted up the rod, and smote the waters that were in the river, in the sight of Pharaoh, and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he hearken unto them, as Yahweh had said.
Right. So he made, they made their little magic trick look like it was the same thing as the miracle of Yahweh. So that helped harden Pharaoh's heart. But at some point, while he looking at the magicians, his thing was, okay, they turned the water into blood. So then they turn around and they say, hey, all right, you see this water? We're going to turn this water into blood too. You know, they put some little red dye in it, made it turn red. That's not a trick to me. I tell you what, if you got magic, make their blood water go away. Don't give me more blood water. I don't need more blood water. You understand? See, the right thing wasn't even asked. Hey, Slick, I don't need more blood water. Make this one go away. Then I can believe you can do a trick. Go ahead.
Verse 23. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, neither did he set his heart to this also. And all the Egyptians digged round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water of the river. And 7 days were fulfilled. After that, Yahweh had smitten the river.
Keep going.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, go unto Pharaoh, and say unto him, thus said Yahweh, let my people go, that they may serve me. And if you refuse to let them go, behold, I'll smite all your borders with frogs.
Right. And we see that this is a process of things that end up happening, and they're these natural disaster type situations. When you examine what the current president of America said, he said that global warming was a hoax, and that it was made up, and the earth is on its third hottest year in record, back to back to back. It cannot keep going on under the same rulership, because they are going to destroy it. Yahweh has to change the order. Otherwise, this earth, his creation, is going to be destroyed, because it's all about money, 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 money. So they don't consider the damage that they're doing to the environment or anything else. They know that when they come in and start this fracking process, that it's going to cause earthquakes, that it's going to cause the entire ecosystem to be destroyed. Yet they keep doing it because they make so much money on oil. They know that it's going to completely destroy that area. The earth can't keep taking this current rulership. Especially when you have billionaires who say, you know, global warming is a hoax. That's not real. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 8 and verse 3. And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into your house, and into your bedchamber, and upon your bed, and into the house of your servants, and upon your people, and into your ovens, and into your kneading troughs. And the frogs shall come up both on you, and upon your people, and upon all your servants. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, say unto Aaron, stretch forth your hand with your rod over the streams, over the rivers, and over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up upon the land of Egypt. And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments, and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt.
So they gonna bring more frogs. Man, why you gonna bring more frogs, bro? We got frogs everywhere, and you bring more frogs. That's the wrong magic trick. And believe you me, Yahweh is definitely giving them issues, because you got frogs in your house. Boy, you got a mad woman in there. I can tell you that, but I can tell you, boy, you got a mad woman in there, Jack. You got frogs jumping around inside your house. You got some issues. And it's about to get worse. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Then Pharaoh called for Moshe and Aaron and said, entreat Yahweh, that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I'll let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto Yahweh. And Moshe said unto Pharaoh, glory over me. When shall I entreat for you, and for your servants, and for your people, to destroy the frogs from you and your houses, that they may remain in the river only? And he said, tomorrow. And he said, be it according to your word, that you may know that there is none like unto Yahweh our El. And the frogs shall depart from you, and from your houses, and from your servants, and from your people. They shall remain in the river only. And Moshe and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moshe cried unto Yahweh because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. And Yahweh did according to the word of Moshe. And the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart and hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said.
Right. So when people don't receive full judgment, what it does is it gives them the belief that they can keep going in that certain manner. See, there's certain things that have happened to me that I never considered was a blessing. It was a very difficult situation. But what it did was it stopped me from doing that what I was doing. See, when people don't receive judgment, they think Yahweh okay with it. They believe they done got by with it. So they keep going. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, say unto Pharaoh, stretch out your rod, and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod, and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and upon beast. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of Elohim. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said.
So finally, we get to a point where they can't produce a magic trick of making lice. So now they have to go ahead and back up and say, look, we can't do this. Whatever they're doing is greater than what we are able to do. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, rise up early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he comes forth to the water. And say unto him, thus said Yahweh, let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if you will not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies upon you, and upon your servants, and upon your people, and into your houses. And the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereon they are. And I'll sever in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell.
See, this is that part that always concerned me. When you start talking about all these plagues, we got water turned into blood, we got frogs, we got lice, and now we're about to have swarms of flies, but separate Goshen where the children of Israel live. See, this is where it hurt us, where we've been scattered and spread out about. Because when these judgments and stuff start happening, it's easy for Yahweh to say, don't go over there where Israel at. So it has actually been a part of defense for the nations to spread us out. It was always in their favor for us to spread out. It was never in our favor. This is in their favor, because every last one of these plagues, Yahweh sent, yeah, go over there. Yeah, go over there. Yeah, but don't go right there, because that's where my people sit, right there. Don't bother them. But now spreading us out, there's no power in that. See? It's that thing that I tell people. It's these 5 fingers, they ain't got no power. They all apart. But when you put all them 5 fingers together, now you got power in this hand. So all you got to do is divide them, and their power is gone. Go ahead.
That no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end you may know that I am Yahweh in the midst of the earth. And I'll put a division between my people and your people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. And Yahweh did so. And there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of the swarm of flies. And Pharaoh called for Moshe and for Aaron, and said, go you, sacrifice to your Elohim in the land. And Moshe said, It is not meet so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to Yahweh our Elohim. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us?
Right, because the Egyptians worshiped the cow. And here it is, that was the whole thing of making the little golden calf. So they worship these things, and here it is, you finna sit there and kill a God right in front of them. Oh man, they finna be ticked off, Jack. You finna have some serious problems. Go ahead.
We will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to Yahweh our El, as he shall command us. And Pharaoh said, I will let you go, that you may sacrifice to Yahweh your El in the wilderness. Only you shall not go very far away. Entreat for me. And Moshe said, Behold, I go out from you, and I'll entreat Yahweh that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people tomorrow. But let not Pharaoh deal deceitfully any more, in not letting the people go to sacrifice to Yahweh. And Moshe went out from Pharaoh and entreated Yahweh. And Yahweh did according to the word of Moshe, and he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. There remained not one. And Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time also, neither would he let the people go.
So the same process ends up happening over and over, but these plagues have to come upon the Egyptians. And do understand that the Egyptians as a whole are having to deal with this. But the Egyptians themselves had no power over any of the decisions that Pharaoh made. But they benefited from it. If you talk to these people today, they'll tell you, well, I never owned slaves, so that don't concern me. Okay, didn't you get an inheritance that was left unto you? And you was able to start a business with that inheritance, right? Right. So you benefited from slavery, though you own not slaves. See, this is the game that people play. Since I didn't own any slaves, myself, I am, protected from that. No, you're not. You didn't give away the money, did you? When you got your inheritance, did you turn around and go find some black people and give all the money away? And we got Fortune 500 companies that was built off slave money. I mean, there are many, many that we can prove, and others we won't ever be able to prove because the money divided so many times. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 9 and verse 1. Then Yahweh said unto Moshe, Go in unto Pharaoh and tell him, Thus said Yahweh El of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go, and will hold them still, behold, the hand of Yahweh is upon your cattle which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the asses, upon the camels, upon the oxen, and upon the sheep. There shall be a very grievous murrain. And Yahweh shall sever between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt, and there shall nothing die of all that is the children of Israel.
Right. Once again, here is where that are being sanctified. What sanctified means is separated. And we don't consider the things. People have said being sanctified, and we think it's some glorious term. But when you talk about sanctified is separated, segregation is separated. It's the same word. So when we were desegregated, we were de-sanctified. But that ain't how they told us that at church. That ain't how they explain that. See? So it sounds like it's a good thing when you say desegregation. Use the term for what it is. Say desanctification and see if it sounds so good to you. Sanctified is supposed to be separated. When you are separated, when Yahweh get to deal with them nations, you ain't got to be nowhere near. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And Yahweh appointed a set time, saying, Tomorrow Yahweh shall do this thing in the land. And Yahweh did that thing on the morrow, and all the cattle of Egypt died, but of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one. And Pharaoh sent, and behold, there was not one of the cattle of the Israelites dead. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. And Yahweh said unto Moshe and unto Aaron, Take to you handfuls of ashes of the furnace, and let Moshe sprinkle it toward the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. And it shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beast throughout all the land of Egypt. And they took the ashes of the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moshe sprinkled it up toward heaven. And it became a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beast. And the magicians could not stand before Moshe because of the boils, for the boil was upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians.
And if you ain't never seen boils all over somebody, you really ain't seen a problem. That is some really strange looking stuff there. I have seen this pop up on somebody, and I seen it pop up on somebody after my elder died. The next leader came up and did some strange stuff behind that altar. Tried to order everybody to eat on atonement. Atonement is a fast. Man, it might have been a week later when that dude was broke out with boils all over his body, man. I was like, people gonna find, Yahweh ain't nothing to play with. You better find you something else to play with. You better find out. Next thing you know, he showed up with that Michael Jackson mask. You know what I'm saying? The little mask go all the way around your face. I'm like, man, what's wrong with this cat, man? He come up trying to talk to people. Hey, hold on, bro. You got that mask on. Hold on. What's with the Michael Jackson mask? And that was when it was healing. That was when some of the things were going down, but it was still some boils. Oh, hey, man, people better find something else to play with. Go play with, this is not your mama's God. Go play with something else. This ain't it. If you want to play, I'm telling you now, go ahead and leave and go rest, and you can show back up tomorrow, and they will accept you like ain't nothing happened. I promise you. But if you gonna play some game, this ain't the one to play with. That playing with that word and going back behind that altar and doing these little games. Hey man, this thing is serious. And all of those people who are making merchandise of the children of Israel, they deserve to have their money, because they're gonna pay for that later. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had spoken unto Moshe. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Rise up early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh, and say unto him, Thus said Yahweh El of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me. For I will at this time send all my plagues upon your heart, and upon your servants, and upon your people, that you may know that there is none like me in all the earth. For now I'll stretch out my hand, that I may smite you and your people with pestilence, and you shall be cut off from the earth.
Right, you and your people. Not just you. You made all these decisions, but I'm going to deal with you and your people. So as he's dealing with Pharaoh, the people got to deal with frogs, lice, swarms of flies, dead cattle, boils, and now they up to the next one. The people are having to suffer this, but do understand, the people don't have the same kind of money and substance that Pharaoh has. So he can take a lot more loss than the average person can. Go ahead.
And in very deed for this cause have I raised you up, for to show in you my power, and that my name may be declared throughout all the earth. As yet exalteth you yourself against my people, that you will not let them go? Behold, tomorrow about this time I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, such as has not been in Egypt since the foundation thereof even until now. Send therefore now, and gather your cattle, and all that you have in the field. For upon every man and beast which shall be found in the field, and shall not be brought home, the hail shall come down upon them, and they shall die. He that feared the word of Yahweh among the servants of Pharaoh made his servants and his cattle flee into the houses.
Now this is interesting, because everything else he has done. Okay, the Egyptians, all of them, they're going to suffer this loss. The children of Israel didn't. Now he gets to the part, as he's been dealing with him for a little while, now he gives the Egyptians an opportunity not to suffer with Pharaoh. But you got to bring your animals in the house. So now folk got to have their cattle sitting in the living room if they want to keep it. So now you got this difficult thing. Now you imagine somebody got a fine home and you got to turn around and let your goats come in there. But you got a decision now. Do I believe this God of the slaves and bring my animals in my house? Or do I maintain my position and leave my animals outside? See, now we found a turning point, which is probably why when we talk about leaving out of there, that they had a mixed multitude. This is now an opening for the Egyptians to get in on the power of Yahweh. Go ahead.
And he that regarded not the word of Yahweh left his servants and his cattle in the field. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, stretch forth your hand toward heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, upon man and upon beast and upon every herb of the field throughout all the land of Egypt. And Moshe stretched forth his rod toward heaven, and Yahweh sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and Yahweh rained hail upon the land of Egypt.
And we don't see sometimes how powerful lightning is, and that it will start a fire like nobody's business. Go ahead.
So there was hail and fire mingled with the hail, very grievous, such as there was none like it in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. And the hail smote throughout all the land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast. And the hail smote every herb of the field, and brake every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, was there no hail.
Once again, the sanctified or separated people of Israel are not going through the same things that the rest of the nation is going through. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh sent and called for Moshe and Aaron, and said unto them, I have sinned this time. Yahweh is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. Entreat Yahweh, for it is enough, that there be no more mighty thunderings and hail, and I'll let you go, and you shall stay no longer.
All right, let's go to our chapter 10 and verse 1.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him, and that you may tell in the ears of your son and of your son's sons what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that you may know how that I am Yahweh.
Right. So this is this story that we have to go through over and over and pass these things along to our children so that they understand these things. And because we have not gone through that, now we have converted proselytes now being called by the term of Jew and telling people that it was them that went through these things. When we're talking about slaves having to work from sun up and sun to sundown, and we know that that's not possible for Caucasians to be in the hot sun, sun up to sundown. Darker people absorb sun. See, people are made certain ways for the areas that they live in. You absorb too much sun as an Asian, and now they got skin cancer. Now they got these things. First of all, you're gonna have all of this. I mean, your skin gonna turn red and look like a fire broke out on it from day to day being in the hot sun. There's a reason why they had to go get a certain group of people to go and be slaves. Everybody can't sit there and serve in that sun over and over, day in and day out. This is why you have these so-called educated groups changing certain things. I heard a very prominent pastor of a congregation. He's has a doctorate in the Songs of Solomon, where it's talking about the Shunammite woman. The Shunammite says, I am black, but comely. I am black because the daughters made me work in the vineyard over and over. So this woman is saying that, and Shunem is a place in Jerusalem. So we're talking about, this is one of the people of Israel. And she says, I've had to work so much in the vineyard that I've gotten darker. I've gotten black. They turned that to tan. And this is a man with a doctorate talking to a room full of white people. See, sometimes, Yahweh, you think you just waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, hit the TV, and I'm talking about I hit the television, And Yahweh was like, all right, it's good. I mean, it must have been somebody like, hey, wake that fool up. Wake him up. Right now. Wake him up. Wake him up. Turn on the TV, dumb boy. Hurry up. Now you're going to miss it. I turned on TV just long enough to hear this lie. I said, wow. He just turned black to tan. He said she done worked so much in the vineyard that she got tan. And all these people sat there, auditorium full of people. They wanted to accept it, so they accepted it. There's no other group of people that can take that over and over and over and over again, unless it's in your DNA to be able to take that. So they didn't just go and look for a people. The children of Israel were set to be servants. So they went to the Africans. Hey, what are those people who have constantly been servants? They know how to serve. They tried to enslave the Indians. They tried. You know, it's a lot of, they could have been in the sun. They're darker people. They could have been able to do that, but it was hard to enslave them Indians because they went that way and came back that way. Like, what the hell? And you just go that way? They know this land. They knew that every coyote by name. Hey, bro, you can't enslave people who know where they at. It's hard to enslave somebody, bro, and they know the road and everything. We be running right up the mouse house. They be like, look, they running right to him. Let them run some more. Hey, let them get tired. They don't know where they going. You couldn't do that to them folks. Them folks was able to chart exactly where they were. It's hard to enslave, but go over there and get some people who know how to be servants, who have been forever given the title of servant. And that's our problem. We don't want to accept the title. You either be Yahweh's servant or you're going to continue to be these people's servant. At some point, you're going to have to make that decision. Whose servant you going to be? Because you're going to be a servant. So you can either serve Yahweh or you can serve your enemy in your enemy's land. Go ahead.
You know, brother, it's a thing that we all have to start thinking with common sense. We see that who gets skin cancer? Not us. And I happened to watch something the other day, what is it called? Naked and Afraid. I've never heard of sun poisoning before. That's not something we deal with. When I heard this man was out in Belize and because he was out in the sun too much, he got sun poisoning. Skin started to swell. They had to come in and take him out. Those people couldn't have did this stuff.
And now we're starting to get it because of medication. See, it was one thing that they had. Certain medications got certain things in it. I had that died of, what's that thing they call it? Melanoma. And I remember my daddy was telling me, man, what the hell? He said, man, how this black, and this dude was jet black. And he's trying to figure out how this black dude get melanoma. It's in the medication and the stuff that we taking. Come to figure out. A couple days later. Now sometimes this how you sometimes Yahweh give you something and you just have to take it and put it on the shelf. All right, I don't really know where to put that, so I'm gonna put that right there. 3 days later, once again, notorious channel flipper. So I'm flipping, and here come this thing on. You know that? Do you know anybody who's died from skin cancer, melanoma, and such and such? Then they start saying, people who've taken Viagra, how about it's linked to melanoma and skin cancer? I said, it wasn't 3 days later that Yahweh hit me. I said, I be doggone. So now, I'm like, hey, Daddy. I don't know if you popping them happy time pills, but let me tell you something. Hey, bro, might want to put them pills down, Jack. I said, look at that. It wasn't 3 days later. That now, we get them things from them happy pills. I said, boy. So, and that don't mean that that's all they're in. So don't get it twisted that I'm saying if you avoid that you ain't gonna have that problem. We don't know what all is in because we don't know exactly what that ingredient was that's doing it. They may have put that in all sorts of things. They may have put that in all them vaccinations that we've been getting. And here it is, Yahweh has given us a clean and an unclean statute. Man, they make them vaccines out of monkey brains and all kind of stuff, and you shooting that in your body? You out of your mind. And then If any of you read the paper before, the waiver, oh my God. Read the waiver. You should just download the waiver and read it. Just for kicks. Read it. This thing is saying that anything can happen to you. Your little boy can grow another head out of his neck. You hold us. Not liable. Your little boy could grow breasts. Wait a minute. He could have man breasts. And you agree to hold them harmless. You should read that paper. Here it is, in the beginning of the word, I'm reading the paper, and the nurse said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading the paper." She said, "Don't nobody read that paper." I said, "For real?" I'm reading it, and I'm terrified. Every line I get to is getting worse and worse. And at the end, you then sign the waiver saying that you hold them completely harmless from any of the issues that your child may get from this vaccine. You sign it, and then, boom, they get this vaccine. And some of those kids, right after they get that Tri-Dep, because it's too much, it's 3 shots in one, some of them never get right after that. But then they got laws that protect the vaccine companies. So when you deal with some of these issues, in a normal case, no, we don't have those issues. But we're starting to have issues that don't agree with our makeup. See? Because we've taken on a culture that ain't ours. There used to be a time when I was little, I used to drink milk like it was water. I didn't even drink water. I would open the refrigerator. If it wasn't but this much milk in there, they don't need me getting no cup, Jack. Because I'm turning this baby up right at the refrigerator. Boom! Pow! Throw it down. Mama like, "You need to stop drinking water. You drinking all this milk." Then I got a hold of a doctor one day. Old white man getting ready to retire. And he didn't care what he said. He said, "You black people need to find somewhere else to get your calcium." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Damn, he's mighty bold." I said, but you know what? I like them kind of white people. You understand? You know, they understand who they are. I understand who. He ain't trying to be black. I ain't trying to be white. We can be ourselves. I'm cool with this. Them the kind I like. I said, "Well, say on, brother. Say on." He said, "Milk causes black man's prostate to enlarge." Excuse me? I said, "What?" "Milk causes your prostate to enlarge. Black people have a high rate of prostate cancer because you are drinking milk that is a European It's a white man telling me that. Ain't no brother told me jack. The white man telling me, you keep drinking that milk and it's going to kill you. Gotcha. Appreciate you, brother. And I tell black folk that and they just look at me like, what? That's not our diet. See? So you take part of somebody else's culture and it starts going against you. Yahweh gave us a culture and said you shall not mar the corners of your beard. We keep cutting the corners of our beard, man, and bumps show up all under our neck, everywhere. It don't have in the world. Africans, they don't even grow hair. They may be 50 years old and might just have one little bit of hair on their lip. White people can shave every day for 50 years straight, not one bump. Why happened to you? Because the law was given to you. Then he gave you a body that revolts against you when you try to go against it. Go ahead, bro.
Exodus chapter 10 and verse 3. And Moshe and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh and said unto him, Thus said Yahweh, hell of the Hebrews, how long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go that they may serve me. Else if you refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locusts into your coast, and they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which grows for you out of the field. And they shall fill your houses, and the houses of all your servants, and the houses of all the Egyptians, which neither your fathers which neither your fathers nor your fathers' fathers have seen since the day that they were upon the earth unto this day. And he turned himself and went out from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's servants said unto him, How long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve Yahweh their El. Know you not yet that Egypt is destroyed?
Right. So it's going to be a point where the inhabitants of this land is moved to release you. Let these people go. They are a snare unto us. Go ahead.
And Moshe and Aaron were brought again unto Pharaoh, and he said unto them, Go, serve Yahweh your El. But who are they that shall go? And Moshe said, We will go with our young and with our old, and with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds will we go, for we must hold the feast unto Yahweh. And he said unto them, Let Yahweh be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones. Look to it, for evil is before you. Not so, go now, you that are men, and serve Yahweh, for that you did desire. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come upon the land of Egypt, and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail has left. And Moshe stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt. And Yahweh brought an east wind upon the land all that day, and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt, and rested in all the coast of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. For they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened, and they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt.
Right. When you read the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, it says, I'm going to sweep her with the besom of destruction. So all of these so-called natural events are going to happen in some shape, fashion, or form again. Go ahead.
Then Pharaoh called for Moshe and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against Yahweh your El, and against you. Now therefore forgive, I pray you, my sin only this once, and entreat Yahweh your El, that he may take away from me this death only. And he went out from Pharaoh and entreated Yahweh. And Yahweh turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts, and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coast of Egypt. But Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Stretch out your hand up toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moshe stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. And Pharaoh,
because they were sanctified and separated from the rest of the people. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh called unto Moshe and said, Go you, serve Yahweh. Only your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you. And Moshe said, You must give us also sacrifice and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto Yahweh our El.
So understand something. All of this and everything that Pharaoh is trying to stop is a full ability to serve Yahweh. 1 minute he said, lead the women. That way I know you're coming back. Now, lead the herds. That way I know you're coming back for your stuff. So this entire part of our freedom is connected with being able to keep the feast of Yahweh, which is the very thing that the powers that be want you not to do. It is connected to your freedom. Go ahead.
Verse 26, Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not an hoof be left behind. For therefore must we take to serve Yahweh our El. And we know not with what we must serve Yahweh until we come thither. But Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said unto him, Get you from me. Take heed to yourself. See my face no more. For in that day you seeth my face, you shall die. And Moshe said, You have spoken well. I will see your face again no more.
Right. So then we got waters turned to blood. We got frogs. We got lice. We got swarms of flies. We got cattle and other animals dead. We got boils upon man and beast, hail, locusts, and then darkness over all the land. And still, there is not the ability of repentance. Because he has gone on in this thing for so long, Yahweh is now making an example out of him. Because now the entire, the rest of the world is going to hear of all of these things. You got a mixed multitude in Egypt. So all of these people are going to go back to their places, especially when a country falls. Consider if something happens to America and everybody hears from somewhere else. At the same point, they're talking about building the wall and talking about getting rid of the immigrants. They still say in the same breath, well, we are a country of immigrants. Right. So when there's a real issue, all these people go back to where they're from and they're taking the stories of what happened. So because the Euro Gentiles know where they're from. You know, they'll tell you the difference there. This one is Irish. This one is come from France. This one come from Germany. They all know where they come from. So when they go back, they say, yeah, man, well, when we was back such and such, this is the story that happened. So now all of that is going everywhere. Do you understand? We're talking about a time without internet, without cell phones, without the ability for all of this information to just go somewhere. So having this big rulership, you got all these mixed multitude of people from people that they have conquered. This is how that story get back out. Because he says, my fame shall go all over the earth. Well, if you got a world power and you make that world power fall, the entire world knows. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 11 and verse 1. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, yet will I bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether.
Right, he gonna throw you out. He not gonna let you leave. He gonna throw you out. Go ahead.
Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold.
Right, now here go that borrowing that y'all do. Now it's gonna be actually, this gonna be a good borrowing this time. This time y'all can do that brother borrowing, where you borrow, but you ain't never gonna have to pay it back. This is that. Because he had already said, I see your face no more. Good. This is the time for me to borrow. Let me borrow your necklaces and your jewels over there. And you got a ring, that's all kind of little diamonds. And let me get that. Yeah, I won't borrow that. Yeah, this is going to be the borrowing time right here. Go ahead.
And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moshe was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people.
And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. He did that through all the plagues that he gave them. They didn't want to see these people in favor. They have been ruling over these people for many generations. They have taught their kids that these people are beneath you. But because of the constant hardships that happened to them back to back, now they have gained favor in their sight. And it's going to be the same with you. Go ahead.
And Moshe said, thus saith Yahweh, about midnight will I go into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sits upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more.
Right. The firstborn is the beginning of a man's strength. They normally get a double portion of the inheritance. So when you talk about this firstborn dying, you're talking about a major breakdown in everything. Go ahead.
But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue, against man or beast, that you may know how that Yahweh does put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these your servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves to me, saying, get you out, and all the people that follow you, and after that will I go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moshe and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh. And Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land.
Right. This is where you have to learn how to just follow the instructions that were given unto you. See, you have word that others out in the street don't have. Now, the purpose of that word may not be the same for every individual. You may be led to speak to somebody about this word for their salvation, but you also may be able or may be led to talk to somebody about this word for their damnation. See, Yahweh only requires that they have heard. Some people ain't going to hear and they're not going to do anything with it. See, even though Yahweh said go, but he not going to hear you. Some of y'all will say, well, see, I ain't going to prosper then. He ain't going to hear. They don't need to be going. Follow your instructions. Because judgment has to happen to these people and they need to have heard it to receive righteous judgment. Go and follow your instructions. Say what you were supposed to say. It ain't about whether or not they hearken unto you. That ain't your job to decide whether or not they supposed to hearken unto you. You speak the word. Whatever that's supposed to do, that's Yahweh's deciding, not yours. Now, with all of this turmoil, now we then start getting instruction. Go ahead and start at chapter 12.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Now he's giving them a whole nother understanding. This is the beginning of the year. Now, you're going through all of these things in the middle of all this turmoil. Now Yahweh telling you when the new year is. Hey, man, we got some people finna try to kill us, and you talking to us about the new year? Now it's time for you to get some instruction. See, there's no need to have a law if you don't have a land. This is the part you have to consider. The feast days are connected to us being freed and us being able to worship Yahweh our Elohim. This law, there's no need. If you're not going to have a kingdom, you don't need a law. So you need a law to govern you. Otherwise, you cannot have a government. Okay? So the people who want you to be without law are people who want you to stay captives forever. We don't see the slickness in that. That's why they don't want you to grab hold of a law. Because they want you to be captives forever. So this instruction is given unto them because they're about to be landowners. They're about to now have a group of people that they have to govern. But if you're going to be somebody else's servant, then you just do whatever they tell you. You don't need no law. Go ahead.
Speak you unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
Right. So the Passover is to be eaten with unleavened bread, but the unleavened bread feast does not start until the next day. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, And I'll smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon your houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I'll pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt.
Right. So then we are protected. Herein lies the term, are you under the blood? See, at this point, they were under the physical blood of the Lamb. When we are baptized in the name of Yahshua, now we are under the blood of the spiritual Lamb. But protection is still under the blood. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the selfsame day I have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
Right. So now we're talking about this unleavened. After you are protected under the blood, then you have the opportunity to leave out unleavened or without sin. And the children of Israel are going to have to, though this thing of baptism is not given, they're going to walk completely covered in through a wall of water, though they walk through dry shod. Go ahead.
In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even, you shall eat unleavened bread, until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eats that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land.
Right. It says that there should be no leaven found anywhere in your coast. And this, like I said before, this leaven is, what does leaven do? It causes something to rise or to be puffed up. So anything that causes something to rise, anything that has that leaven in it must be removed from your dwelling. Now, you must get rid of it. It is a symbol of sin. You can't give your sin to your neighbor. Here, man, I need you to hold my sin. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to serve Yahweh, but I'm going to come back. Don't get my sin dirty. I want to get it dirty myself. I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to get my sin when I'm done. No, you can't do that. No, you got to get rid of that. I know when you first in the word, you done, got you a whole bunch of stuff. You find out it got leaven in it. Been there, done that. You want to get your neighbor to hold your sin for you? It ain't going to work. It shall not be found in your coast. It is not something you can go and let somebody hold and then go get it back. Go ahead.
Verse 20. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations you will eat unleavened bread. Then Moshe called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, Draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Yahweh will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, Yahweh will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in onto your houses to smite you.
Right. Those that are under the blood are protected from the destroyer. This is how powerful being under the blood is. Go ahead.
And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when you be come to the land which Yahweh will give you, according as he has promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, Why mean you by this service? That you shall say, It is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as Yahweh had commanded Moshe and Aaron, so did they.
Right. So when we deal with these things, we then know that this was this physical lamb that had to be picked out and sacrificed for the sins of the children of Israel. But we have now been given a perfect sacrifice in the form of the Son of Elohim entering into a body and being sacrificed for us. There is no sacrifice greater than that. So do understand that there are portions within the letter of the law that we do not have to deal with at this present time because we're not doing offerings. So the lamb that we partake on our Passover, it is not our sacrifice. Yahshua is our sacrifice. We've had a perfect sacrifice be given unto us. So let us not be in a point that we don't understand that this lamb is not our sacrifice. We have had a perfect and pure sacrifice given for us. But let us also not underestimate all the troubles that brought forth this Passover. Because a lot of times we look at the Passover and we get right to the part in Exodus 12, but not dealing with all the turmoil that our people encountered coming up to that. And a lot of times we look dismayed as we get close to these holy days and we look up and all kind of stuff is going on. We disconnect that from all of these events. Our people were in great turmoil, but in the midst of that turmoil, Yahweh gave them the greatest understanding of his word that they had ever had, that any of Israel had ever had before. And that was given to them in turmoil. So if you take off running at every sign of turmoil, you may end up missing the greatest thing that Yahweh is about to do for you. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.